Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Eight in 8. It's something that very seldom happens in any sport, that 8 different teams, 8 different drivers, 8 different competitors can have one victory each. It's never that much of a parity, but this season it has been in the iRacing Grand Prix Tour. This has been the championship where anything is possible, and week to week, nobody knows who's got the form. So when we say Salut Gilles at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, this is the circuit where heroes are made, champions are immortalized, and there is one final corner that catches even the very best out here today. Welcome to this 9th round of the championship. I'm Jake Sperry. Stuart Brown is alongside me for the ride. We will take our eagle eye view in just a couple moments down onto where this circuit lies, and one of the most incredible tracks out there in terms of its pure drama that's out there. In terms of what's going on around this circuit, it got red flag today, Stuart, because a groundhog chewed through a CCTV cable. So that meant that one of the cameras went down. They had to stop the session. But here in the St. Lawrence River, it's going to be Groundhog Day for a couple of drivers.
Yeah, absolutely a fantastic circuit to bring this round to you all on the iRacing platform, of course. SimSpeed TV live for you here at a very, very interesting place to go racing, as you said, Wall of Champions, suitably named for ending the races of a number of drivers over the journey. We've got 14 turns on this island, created in the late 60s to host a world event, but very famously now known for this racetrack. Of course, clockwise direction, Virage Center, going to be an interesting start for this one. We've got 2 DRS zones as shown on screen now, and we've actually got a unique situation. We've got 2 DRS activation zones down the casino straight and then across the start finish line as well. So racing here tonight going to be, or in the morning, wherever you are in the world, it's going to be a very, very interesting race to bring to you again.
It certainly will. A lot of DRS zones to work with. A lot of places, really, you can make that pass. But it's all about these streets, which make it difficult. That opening sector is so precise as you go out and try and challenge around this track. Let's take a look at the 2 championship standings that we have. The first are with iRacing points. So the iRacing official championship that is there. Marcel Fassbender on top of that, 1,814 points. Clear over Anthony Catt and Jordan Gronkowski, 2nd and 3rd. It's a 2-horse championship at the moment, but the drop rounds are important. You get 4 of them in the iRacing official championship, and that will be interesting to see when the later rounds come into play. Let's change it up, though, and talk about the SimSpeed championship. Now, this only counts for this race that happens right now, not any other race that goes on forward. Anthony Catt and Marcel Fassbender are tied at the top of the championship on 78 points. But there are a number of drivers who are chasing, including Jordan Gronkowski, Emil Bernstorff, and Ben Fuller, who hasn't raced since round 3 at the championship and still finds himself 5th overall. Stuart, it is still as open can be.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And you touched on it at the top of the show. Will we see a 9th winner for this Grand Prix ahead of a dual winner for the first time. 9 rounds in, unbelievable. You wouldn't have picked it at the start. 70 laps is what we're looking at here today with, as usual, 2 compounds to be used by the drivers across the journey. DRS activated after lap 3, as always. It's anyone's game. Qualifying interesting as well. Anthony Katz 4th. We'll go through the grid shortly, but just keeping an eye on that. The time's very close across our top 10 drivers. Having a look at tyre life there, 22 to 30 laps for the soft compound tyre, medium 40 to 50, and the hard, the unlikely choice, 50 to 70 laps. Difficulty here for the drivers to get heat into those tyres. So I'm not expecting to see anyone run that one. Pit lane lost time, 22 to 25 seconds. Of course, we'll see the drivers go through pit lane at least once, but probably twice throughout this event.
They've all got opportunities, but this is how they're going to go. It's actually round 9, not round 8, but it is Marcel Fassbender who is on the pole position. Julien Magalon, yet to have a win so far this season, lines up alongside on the front row of the grid. We move over to row 2. Jordan Gronkowski back on form, starts 3rd. Anthony Cat will be there in 4th position, has been so consistent and doesn't have a win this year. Northern Motta, the Brazilian, starts from 5th with Jacob Reed then in the 6th position in the number 4 AMG Mercedes with Timothy Vaughan and Yestin Chiapalone in 7th and 8th places. Row 5 is going to be an interesting place to start here on the grid. That'll be housed with Adam Webb and Cesare Manzato, who is there making his first start of the season here with SimSpeed TV in that 10th place, with row 6 housing Tobias Saal and Paul O'Regan as they push forward with their times. Only 1.5 seconds back then on row 7, Lukas Szykomski and Walter Lux, the Austrian there, starts 16th. 17th belonged to George van Rensburg, the South African, and Kent Nielsen. 18th position will have a lot of work to do after a bit of difficulty over the last couple of weeks. Jason Green and Florian Kammeyer will start then on that next row of the grid then, and it just leaves Connor Pooler going from the back, who has been up and down, was so strong when it came to Barcelona, but here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, not as much, it seems, in terms of that. They do have 2 minutes to get themselves up onto the grid, or they start from pit lane, and that could be so troublesome out there for drivers who maybe look at this start and go, this is not really the start I want. It's very narrow on the runs turn 1 and 2. It's very easy, very common to see cars turned around at that first section. So sometimes taking a start from the pits is the right decision. But for Marcel Fassbender, the dual championship leader, I think it's fair to say, on the pole position, he wants to go and consolidate that result. He got a win, of course, at Long Beach, the Monaco replacement, so to speak, and is looking to try and be the first driver this season to go back-to-back. But there's a number of key candidates who could make something happen here around this wonderful, wonderful racetrack. Green flag in the air, and let's get ourselves underway. Magalon with a fantastic start then as they rush towards the opening section. He'll try and sweep around the outside to take that whole shot away, and does. Takes the race lead fantastically. They all manage to find themselves through with trepidation through the opening 2 corners towards 3 and 4. There is Gronk trying to chase on down in turn 5, but it's a nice clean start from everybody as they now chase turn 6.
Centre curves there, very clean, which is good to see. 3 wide in some places as well. They're doing really well to make their way through that first segment of the track as they get around and try and get some temperature into these tyres. It's going to be difficult. By Saal on screen at the moment. He's dropped all the way down 10 places, down towards last as well, even behind our non-qualifiers, Nick Rick and Kalen Chin, who's had a fantastic start. He's up 6 positions already into 15th. So have a look here at Jordan Gronkowski on screen in P3, maintaining that position with Magalon. There has been a spin.
More than that, you'd feel that is a big hit for the South African George van Rensburg, who's going to have to really work hard to get forward. We talk about the opening laps being important. We're not expecting anyone to go on the hard tyre. We're thinking maybe medium soft if someone needs to pit on the opening lap. No DRS then. The first 2 laps of this race, almost everybody is on the medium tyre except for 2, and that is Cesare Manzato and Kent Nielsen. So keep an eye on them at the start of this race, but already Tobias Saal is down in the pit. So he is one of those drivers right now, the German, who comes up very high in the championship right now. He's got some work to do as he takes his trundle down the pit lane.
Yeah, he's going to have to take some repair there as well. Just having a look through this second lap already. And we haven't spoken about the entry into pit lane here. Put that as we can. It's going to be challenging too. The drivers navigate their way in there relatively quickly down the end of Casino Straight. So just setting out at the front here. Magellan and Fassbender have got a decent gap already to head down through the hairpin. It's going to be interesting to see how far away they can break off at the front here.
Yeah.
Jordan Gronkowski. Try and maintain some touch with him if he can, but he's under pressure and Anthony Cat behind him as well. So good start here for Magellan and Fassbender.
Yeah, those two already 1.6 seconds to the good, which means that Gronkowski is outside of that DRS range as they now go on this front stretch. Here's a little look then at this replay, and this is just, locking up the rears, under braking, so easily done as you try and get that car stopped any which way you can, and that was trouble with a capital T. Now, you can see the timing mark in purple is there, going through that fantastic section as Kent Nielsen finds himself in the pits. Purple check mark means the fastest lap is there for Julien Magellan. That's an extra bonus point in the SimSpeed Championship if you are inside the top 10 as you go through. But this is where the DRS is in play. You can see that. Rear wing open for Marcel Fassbender. Here will go, and troubles for Jason Green.
Yeah, Green's had an issue coming through. I think that was turn 3 and 4, and I think he's collected the wall.
Yeah, it's that section of track is most likely it has, and that can so easily be the end of the race. We've seen how strong over the course of racing, how the DRS has been. We'll take a look at Jason Green's incident here through 3 and 4. Now, is this going to be power on the exit? Oh, yes, it is. Just a black looping around. No way to try and correct that. Jamming on the brakes wasn't enough to get it stopped. And speaking of trying to get it stopped, there is Marcel Fassbender, half a second back, trying to find himself a way through. Can he open up the opportunity? No chance into 1 and 2. It is a short run through that section, but he does have the fastest lap.
Track that's really important for speed. So the DRS zones here equally important as also Jason Green in the background heading to pit lane to get some repairs done. Having a look here at Cesar Sato with Kalen Chin still doing a great job on those soft tyres. One of our 2 soft tyre runners into 10th spot, 11 places. It's a fantastic effort this early on in the race to get that done. As he looks to make another move there, you don't really see people go around the outside there with that wall closing in on the exit of that corner. So as they're making their way down towards the hairpin, they go through the second of the chicanes. It's called Concord on the way through. Looking for set him up down into the hairpin here, and he's going to get the move done relatively easily on those soft tyres.
Look at that. Straight through goes Kalen Chin. He gets past Vaughan. Manzato just behind. We definitely want to try and chase this down in the yellow. And, Vaughan's going to try and fight back here, the New Zealander. Jacob Reed with the fastest lap of the race then at this point, and it's just not there for Timothy Vaughan. You can see he didn't have the DRS, so wasn't able to really go through. It's a double zone through there, so you have to be really alert to what can you do. Now, here's a little look at what happened a little bit further back in the pack. So this is heading down towards Lepangle, the hairpin. 3 wide down there on the brakes. No contact between any of them, and that is as clean can be. Fantastic battling up and down this order.
Yeah, amazing driving there down into the hairpin, 3 wide, plenty of space given. Respect, and it's one of the true hairpins of world motorsport, true 180-degree hairpin. Plenty of runoff on the exit of that corner, so great driving from those 3.
Yeah, fantastic driving, top 2. 0.2 of a second here. Julien Magellan, for the first 5 laps of this race, has been looking around going, okay, Marcel Fassbender is there. At what point does he strike? 2 very similar colours out there in front, looking around at each other going, what do we want to do about it? The Frenchman and the German then at this pivot point around the St. Lawrence River is now thinking about where can you go and find those overtakes. On the brakes then, heading towards the right left of that final chicane. It's a quick chicane there at about third and fourth gears as you now go through. Julien Magalon doing just enough again to cover off that run. He is so good on the acceleration.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcel Fassbender just can't find a way by at this point in time. He's having a jog on the spot a little bit as Kalen Chen puts in the fastest lap of the race on those soft tyres, paying dividends for him up into 8th position. We're having a look here at on Komsky. This is on the Casino Straight on his way down into that.
Look at the run.
Gee, wow, that DRS making such a big difference down into the final chicane. Oh, he's had to run off as well. So he's had to go through, wasn't going to pull that up in time, and didn't want to join the signatories of that wall of champions on the outside there. Has to go through, so he gives that spot back.
Yeah, and that's what you find here around with this racing. The slowdown penalties. Kalen Chin with the fastest lap. Dispatches of Adam Webb before they reach the hairpin. Little lockup, though, going through. Might compromise his run here as he now looks to try and put the power down, but no worries at all. He is using all of the circuit and then some. Right now, the Australian who lives in Singapore at this moment in time. It is very early in the morning for him as he races. And Anthony Catt looks like he's dropping down the order because that's an early stop. That's lap 6 of this race. That is shockingly early for Catt.
So he just had an issue down into the hairpin as well. We locked up and pushed wide when I was on board with him. So I'm not sure if he's got a little bit of nose damage potentially on that car, but he was struggling there in no man's land, and he's decided to jump into pit lane. He's gone on to the softs. So that is obviously with the speed there that we're seeing with Kalen Chin, an interesting move from Anthony Catt.
An interesting move indeed. And that then in the pits is...
Just having a look there as well. Jacob Reed coming through with the fastest lap of the race last time around.
Go front of...
We got you there, Spirit?
Oh, we absolutely do. And it's going to be all about the middle of this field. And now you're going to have to start thinking about, right, we're settling down in. We've done the early phase of the race, the first 6, 7 laps, Stuart. Now how do you tackle your stint? How do you focus on your stint?
Yeah, absolutely. And the drivers have to definitely manage what they're going to do with the latter part of the race in terms of tyre strategy too. A couple of the drivers as well now dropping out of DRS zone of the driver in front of them. We've got Gronkowski running a little bit in no man's land by himself, as well as Jacob Reed, who's coming under pressure from Northern Motor as well. So the race strategy is very dynamic at this point in time, with the drivers having to make some choices. We saw there with Cat jumping into pit lane early to take a soft tyre to see if he can get some position out of that early change. So where do we go from here? It's another one of these races like we've had so far in the first 8 rounds where nothing's going to be decided until probably the last 5 or 10 laps.
No, and that's how we love to see races like this, always going down to as close as possible with how they do. Kalen Chin now in 6th position, Webb and Vaughan fighting behind there in 7th and 8th places, but it has been Kalen Chin on the march, and this is the key. After starting so far down the order, has absolutely been flying. And look at the places gained. 15 places in 8 laps. He's averaging 2 overtakes a lap at this point.
What's scary is Marcel Fassbender on the medium compound tyre is only slightly slower than Kalen Chin, if that gives you any representation, taking nothing away from Kalen Chin and the excellent effort he's putting in to get this far up. But scary stuff coming with Fassbender and Magellan yet to take that soft compound tyre.
Yeah, and of course Marcel Fassbender, now your race leader, has taken that away from Julien Magalon and has broken away to the tune of 2.3 seconds here in this race. Chin with another fastest lap then goes through, and Gronkowski might be in a little bit of trouble. No, he's okay. He's having those technical issues that we've seen so often from him, which could be a cause of concern for number 12 out there in this race. Let's have a look then at the pass, which managed to get the race lead done. Fassbender straight through to the inside, gets it stopped, and he has not thought about anything else except breaking away from the Frenchman.
And has done so. The DRS is no longer in question for Marcel Fassbender, so he can focus on the road in front of him. Also noticed as well, Timothy Vaughan just dropped a couple of places. He had an issue heading down into the chicane at the end of Casino Straight, near Wall of Champions there. Had to run straight ahead to avoid impact with Wall of Champions as well. So he's had an issue there. He just actually also almost, that's another incident now. So plenty going on back in the pack between Webb, Vaughan and Manzardo as well.
Yep, so middle of the pack looking like it's getting interesting on the top of that. At this moment, though, Magalon knows he's got work to do. The VRS replay, so this is what happened going through into the left. A big lockup through the middle of the corner, gets caught up over the curbs, and suddenly having no drive through that left and right by being offline through both of them. Thank you very much. Here comes the opportunity then to strike.
Yeah, and so that was, I think that was Adam Webb as well. That was his issue a little bit earlier on, but that group of cars here on screen now, definitely all fighting for and jostling for position. DRS much in play for Webb and Manzardo as well, and Omkomski's looking to join this battle too, so we're about to have a 5-car crunch in the battle for 7th place.
We do, and Yestin Chiapolone is currently at the front of that train and holding it up quite consistently at this point. A little look then from Timothy Vaughan, and this is where track position becomes so vital. We're only on lap 10. These drivers are thinking about, okay, we could be here for another 10 laps, but if Yestin Chiapolone and Timothy Vaughan, if all these drivers keep fighting at this point, Stuart, do you see maybe their race being almost a pit stop behind by the time they even reach the first round of pit stops?
Yeah, definitely so. Looking at, how Kalen Chin's used the soft tyre to his advantage. He's checked out in 6th position. He was caught up in this very, very shortly. As we see Timothy Vaughan have a look down here into the final chicane, he gets that move done easily with the advantage of DRS. So yeah, definitely can. And the other issue, of course, is visibility. While they're fighting, the potential for one of them to potentially contact that wall of champions on the outside of that chicane or make a mistake through 7 and 8 is potentially a lot higher too. So yeah, it's definitely going to play into the later part of the race.
That's Jacob Reed going through on Jordan Gronkowski, moving up into 3rd position then in this race. An all-important move with everything that is on the line. Gronkowski, after having 2 very bad weeks, is back to form at this point and is looking to try and get through at this stage. But there is Kalen Chin on the back of Northern Motta. So now Motta finds himself now at the mercy of Kalen Chin, who searches to the inside and forces his way through. Goodness me, there wasn't much room there left, and they're still going to fight one off for the exit here. Motta's not giving this one up.
No, Motta did a great job there to make sure he gave him room, saw him coming through Kalen Chin after doing a last lap around that was about a second quicker than just about everyone else on track, so he's making the soft tyre work well for him and gets the move done to not get held up by Motta, and he's going to have a look at Gronkowski very shortly as well. He's already well within DRS as Gronkowski, still having those connectivity issues.
Yeah, that will be very concerning. Might not actually get back through. Middle group, though, continues here, and likes of Yestin Chiapolone finds himself in a little bit of trouble now as he's lost out to Timothy Vaughan, to Adam Webb, and is looking behind at Cesare Manzato, who really hasn't done anything on that soft tyre, and I think that's quite a telling statement that the medium is just the best tyre out there today.
Yeah, definitely to be able to get heat in and keep that the medium tyre's the way to go. Let's have a look here. Did he grab the wall on the outside there? Too diabolical there, but yeah, the medium compound's definitely the strategy to run if you can. Kalen Chin deciding not to qualify, he's used the soft to his advantage, and he'll then settle in on that medium compound tyre. So his race is a little bit back to front. He's then doing 3 stops to try and benefit from a second dint on the soft tyre, with that soft not making it to the end. Have a look here at Kalen Chin again. That DRS just so dominant in the run down towards the final chicane. He'll get that through. There's a little bit of curve there, but gets the job done easily, and he'll catch Jacob Reed here in no time.
Well, we'll see if he does. Kalen Chin there, 16.6 with that overtake. Was about 8/10 quicker than him over that last lap, so certainly has all pace in the world. It's getting busy down at the final chicane as well. The likes of Anthony Catt, remember him having pitted very early on? He's now hitting drives he needs to overtake quickly. Connor Pooler is the first. Little search to the inside. Gore gets shut off in front of him. Paul O'Regan, and then Florian Kammeyer, who is there as number 21. The Diaz driver has, of course, his brother Hendrik Kammeyer, who is there as his spotter, telling him exactly what he needs to hear over the course of this race.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get difficult for Cat, particularly through this section of the track. There's not a lot he can do. He has to get a good exit out of this corner and hope that somebody, and he's struggled there. You can see he's just struggled to get the traction down. But he will be in DRS zone here. You can see the 4 lights on the top of the steering wheel there, not really helping him too much as he heads down towards 8 and 9. There's just not a lot he can do there. He's got to try and set him up for the chicane here. We'll stay on board with him if we can. See if he gets the move done down the inside. He's not close enough. He closes right up here. He'll be looking for a good exit and potentially down to the final chicane. Wow, they do well in front. Bit of a check up there, but plenty of room given. So on the casino straight here, down towards the chicane for the final passing opportunity on this lap as Kalen Chin goes fastest again with a 1:16.3. Again, you can see him being held up here, Kat.
Just look at how they bottle up. Anthony Cat has nowhere to go, and this is going to cost him his race and valuable points in terms of what he's trying to do, what he's trying to get out of it. He needs to get by all of these drivers as quickly as possible. A mistake, though, as George van Rensburg comes into the pits from Jacob Reed, allows through then Kalen Chin. He moves up now onto the podium. It has taken him no time at all, and I think Jacob Reed may have just let him go and said, you know what, Kalen, you might be the fastest driver in this field. You go out there and have absolutely everything you possibly can, and then some to attack Pagalon and Fassbender.
There's no need to spend the medium compound tyre defending against Kalen Chin. He's going to have to stop earlier with the tyre life on that medium compound tyre. I'm expected to be around 50 laps, with Chin probably only going to get around 30, maybe 28 with the way he's pushing out of that soft tyre this time around. So they're on completely different game plans. I was just going to touch quickly, Spiria, on Cat. We've seen this before from him over the last couple of weeks, where he generally tends to bring his race to a close really well and move up positions later in the race. So maybe trying to play the long game here, a different track to ones we've seen over the last few weeks, to try and do that at. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
It will do, and we will certainly see that. There is Jordan Gronkowski, who is now way down the order behind Norton Motors. Still got a lot of work to do. And in the pits goes Connor Pooler, so that's one out of the way for Anthony Cat there. Reagan and Kamai still two that he's going to have to try and get by. There is Lucas Komsky in the bright green. He's got Yestin Chiapolone for company, who's been overtaken now by Cesare Manzato. Chiapolone only going backwards, and he sometimes has those races here, Stuart, where it just doesn't seem to pay off the race pace compared to the qualifying pace.
Yeah, absolutely. He does a really, really strong, capable, confident driver, a race winner for us as well. But yeah, just dropping back through the field a little bit here too. Just touching on Connor Pooler, jumped to the soft tyre at his stop. So he'll stop again in this race. Going to see if anyone can run the soft tyre to its limit and then potentially push for just a single stop by switching to the medium. Potentially Kalen Chin going to run that strategy. So lots to play out.
Lots to play out indeed. Now we take a look from the rear here as Anthony Cat has got through Paul O'Regan and has done just enough. Moves over to the inside, covering off the line as they now hit the brakes into that final chicane. And look at how much Anthony Cat has confidence, even in the dirty air of the car in front, is able to pull away over that section of road. Paul O'Regan with nothing to argue against. Florian Kamai will be next on the Cat hit list at this moment in time. Everybody's still running, though, in this race, the 21 starters that we've had so far. And there's a little pass down the back of the order as Jason Green moves around then Connor Pooler and makes that overtake.
Important for Cat to get past Kamai as quickly as he can, because then he's got free air about 7 seconds up the track. He's on Komsky and Chiapolone, so he needs to get the move done and get on with it. To try and bridge that gap to those in front and get some clean air. Albeit he'll lose DRS, he'll still enjoy that, I think, and he's already got that move done on Paul O'Regan. As you said, you can see the gap coming. He's closed it down to Camille as well, so expect him to get a move done here, potentially down into that closing chicane.
You want that move. He wants that move. Everybody wants that move. Kalen Chin knows that this move is so important. It is all important here to get up into second, but 1.3 seconds adrift. There goes Anthony Cat, now looking to try and get another one in the back pocket. Thank you very much. Makes that pass easy on Florian Kamai. Moves up into 12th, trying to run that soft tyre, and will have to move back onto the medium at some point but at some point it's going to be a very interesting point in time. If you look at the track temperature here today, it is 44 degrees. It is a rather hot circuit as Kalen Chin overcooks it there through the middle. He'll take a slowdown.
He really could have got some underbody damage as well there, running over that sausage curb. So have to keep an eye on Kalen Chin just to see how that works out for him. He's got Jacob Reed now filling up the virtual mirror in his car. So Jacob Reed probably not going to try and make the pass back here. Just running his medium compound strategy that he is as Northern Motor. And Jordan Gronkowski now on screen. DRS zone activated for Gronkowski. Can he get a move done here? He's just too far back to get it done into the final chicane, so he's going to have to set something up on this next lap around if he's going to get a move done on Northern Motor.
And Motta's done very well over the course of this race, and that's Mansato making the pass on Adam Webb. Motta's at 295 on that straight. Gronkowski in the DRS at 311 kilometers an hour, and it's just difficult to get yourself close enough because coming off of that final hairpin there, Lepangle, it is so difficult to get drive off the exit. You're struggling through second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and by the time you reach fifth gear, that you're almost halfway down the straight, and that's when you start to close back up again. That's what makes overtaking difficult around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you're at full lock on that hairpin here. These cars trying to get round that corner, difficult to navigate as well. We've spoken about it before, the length and width of the modern Formula One car. So, albeit there's plenty of runoff available on the exit of that corner, it's often dirty as well, so traction can be an issue, as you said. And by the time you get up to speed, it's too late to take advantage. So, the other thing as well to talk about, of course, is when they're close up behind the car in front of them, it does remove a little bit of that downforce that they get on the front of the car. So slow speed corner, no downforce as well, can make it very difficult to get these cars turned.
Yeah, and that mechanical grip is so reliant in these cars when they are so aerodynamically tuned to get through. Kalen Chin, fastest lap, 16.3 on the board as we focus right down at the back, 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st positions out there in this race. You've got, though, a little bit further forward. There is the green of those who are looking to try and charge forward. And that, of course, being Jason Green's going to have work to do. Magalon is only looking backwards and backwards at this point. Fastbender already now 5 seconds to the good and is being forced here by Kalen Chin to go out there and push as hard as possible right up to the barriers then. Through that third chicane, running to the Lepangle hairpin, turn 10, out on track, and pushes slightly wide. It's going to have no drive off the exit here, and this is going to put Kalen Chin in the perfect position on this back stretch, the Casino Straight, running all the way up to that final chicane. Is this going to be as easy as possible with the DRS? He's going to get himself that overlap. He's going to get himself ahead under the Dodge Bridge, and that is simply Kalen Chin at a masterclass at this point.
I'm just struggling here with a little bit of a moment. Kalen Chin's on the medium compound tyre.
Yes, I'm pretty much everybody else is.
Oh, I thought he was on the soft tyre, so he's done an even better job than I was saying. Apologies to Kalen if he watches this one back. I thought he was on the soft compound tyre up 19 spots. That makes it even more remarkable.
Certainly does. He has just been on another stratosphere with the way he's been making those moves. Gronkowski still stuck behind Northern Motta and knows that he needs points, not only for the iRacing Championship, but the SimSpeed Championship on top of that. And certainly not going to want to be waiting around for poor results to come through. Motta will have to defend here for the first time as Gronk will try and push to the outside. There's no room there, and he'll have to wait again. But Motta pushes wide through that third chicane, and Gronk now again on the outside. He gets the pass because of the slowdown.
Great battle between these two with plenty of space given as well as they head down through the hairpin. Who can get better drive? Oh, a wide exit there and a narrow exit. So we're gonna have a drag race there. Didn't quite get the drive out of the corner that he needed to with that narrow line, Northern Motor. But these two just battling away. DRS open for both of them. An unusual situation to see, but both of them getting DRS active there, so no pass able to be made.
No pass, but you can't always count your chickens there. That gap's going to be important, and now Magalon is going to find himself now in a position because Jacob Reed is going to be there pretty close behind too. That will have to play the patience game, and the opening couple sectors are pretty much as single file as it gets. It's very difficult to make a move. The opening 2 sectors, you have to play patience around a street circuit like this, and that's the game at this point. Timothy Bourne has Cesare Manzato still trying to work that soft tyre. Lap 21, we're just about getting into that window where the soft doesn't really become that good, and you are starting to think about, well, how long can you go before we want to change that tyre?
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on the drivers who did start on the soft tyre to see whether or not they have that drop off the cliff. Moment we're on board with Cesare Manzato. He's one of those drivers now on the soft. Then into the hairpin here. This is where it should be advantageous, but both tyres up to heat, of course, as well. So he'll try and use DRS here if he can. Down into the chicane as the flap opens on the back of his Mercedes.
And there is the move. Easy as that. It's as comfortable as you want, but here is troubles, and it's George van Rensburg who has been in the wars here tonight around this circuit. Turn 2 straight on. Oh, it reminds you of Sonoda, doesn't it, from a couple of years ago, straight out the pits, trying to get it turned. The moment it's straight, it's trying to hope, please don't damage the car, please don't damage the car. Front wing completely off, so too went the tyre.
Yeah, the grass not all that compassionate to the cause there. We're having a look here down into 1 and 2. So the pit lane exit there just on the right of screen as you're looking at it, as well as Nick Burke is under a little bit of pressure here.
A little bit's an understatement, I think. You look at where he is right now in the number 16 car, 14th place. You look behind Paul O'Regan, Walter Lux. They're all there. They're all trying to get themselves into this race, and every point matters, of course, and they're looking at their respective championships going, you know what, it might actually be quite nice if they put a little bit in, try and find that place. There's all of that personal gain, and a big wiggle there from Walter Lux coming out of that third chicane was going to cause troubles. Anthony Catt, though, has been interesting in terms of where he's gone after his move, because he's got his eyes set currently on Lukasz Szykomski. We take a look right now, and this is how close he's going to be to making a move. He'll pivot to the inside. He'll think about it. He did back out of it, though. No, don't blame him there. It is such a closed profile, that section of track.
Yeah, absolutely. Surprised how much Kirby was able to use there as well, but did get that one done. He needs to keep moving, though. Komski is doing a good job defending here. But it's Catt that's been penalised the most. Already stopped, of course, and switched onto that soft compound tyre. And as yet, you'd say probably not able to really use it to its advantage against the warm, medium compound tyre of the drivers he's been battling with.
He is really trying to make something happen on that soft. He will have to come in once more, but he's just got to make as many positions as he can right now. With the DRS, he's thinking about the way he can make that move through that third chicane, a single file chicane that leads out through towards turn 9. Of course, the Robert Kubica corner. In comes Julian Magalon, the first real taker onto the lane.
I wondered if Julian was going to jump in, with Kalen Chin getting by him and really trumping his lap times lap after lap after lap. So he was losing time to Kalen Chin in P3. So he is jumping into the lane. You'd assume he's going to grab a set of soft tyres and get on with this one. See if he can make a dent on that. No, yes, he has indeed. So switches onto the soft for this next segment of the race. It's going to come out behind Anthony Webb, who is yet to stop. But Anthony Catt is just one place behind him now as well after that pit lane transition.
One place back and another place back. You don't want to be there. Kalen Chin, though, look at the comparison of the fastest laps. 2/10 better on that fastest lap. Took the fastest lap that last time by. Took half a second out of Marcel Fassbender. He is in a race at the front after half an hour's worth of driving and is going to be looking behind going, wait, Kalen Chin, the driver who started P21 of everybody here in this field today, that's who is chasing me down? That's going to be a scary prospect for Marcel, and he's going to know that at this point. Kalen Chin on the power now, knows that he has got a real opportunity to make something happen out of today. In through turns 1 and 2, you can see third gear down to second to get the turn in, and on the power, up the hill and away.
And he's nearly half a second a lap quicker every lap at the moment, so that gap to Fassbender dropping down, will that make Fassbender pit a little early, grab a new set of tyres so that he can try and push that margin out, or is he going to run with this one, and who's going to be the first to blink?
Well, who will be the first to blink? That is the question I think is going to be asked. We haven't seen really evenly between Fassbender and Chin, and we see that Kalen Chin is the one who's closing down that gap, closing down that time here at the front, just trying to take as much as possible out of that lead. It's been very stagnant, though, over the course of what's been going forward. Cesare Manzato is another interesting little case at this point, though. We can keep an eye on him here in 6th position because he is reeling in still Norton Motta and Jordan Gronkowski.
Yeah, absolutely. The only driver on the softs in that group that you mentioned, so you'd hope he's going to be able to take advantage of it. Last time around, he was actually the fastest man on track, so he's definitely closing that gap down 2 seconds to the good over Motta and Gronkowski in front of him, so that gap is deteriorating quickly for those drivers. They'll have to make something happen if they're going to, but of course, he's also benefiting from the fact that they're fighting for position, or they have been fighting for position for the last few laps. So it's playing into Cesar's hands here. So he has everything to gain, you would suspect, in the next lap or two.
Everything to gain in terms of gaining those places, but in comes Adam Webb then from about 8th place, making that pit stop, transit through the lane. We haven't talked about how difficult it is going to be through the pit lane as Magalon sets the fastest lap, a 1:15.6 on that soft tyre. I think what's going to be telling is how drivers who are in a battle deal with getting on the brakes into the pits, because you have to be flat out and then jam on the brakes.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, we didn't talk too much about the entry there, but it's very difficult, particularly in that draft, to predict whether or not the driver in front of you is actually going into pit lane or not, because the turning point to that chicane is so late. So it's a tough one for the drivers, and then actually getting the car pulled up as well. Of course, you're on such a fast part of the track. It's a generous entry to pit lane, but it is easy enough to lock it up on the way into the entry there and get it all wrong. So pit exit, as you mentioned too, is a difficult one as well on the cold tyres. You're coming into a bank corner with traffic, and it can very, very easily catch the drivers out as well. So a critical part to get right if you're going to feature well into the end of this race.
A critical phase of the race for Julien Magalon, who's thinking about everything he's got to do. There has been a change just in front of him. Norton Motta is now up into 4th position. Jordan Gronkowski now back to 5th. Manzato's joined the group now in that 6th place. So more changes going on, and everyone is trying to find themselves the right position they want to get into pit lane when they decide they want that. Those on the medium tyre, they might be going a long time here in this one. There's Jordan Gronkowski. Now, this is how he loses that position. On the brakes, no worries at all, but he just overcooks it and has to take the slow down penalty, which is roughly about 4 seconds of serve that you have to do.
I wonder if he might have been in two minds whether or not to jump into pit lane there, and then just deciding too late not to, and having to take evasive action and head straight ahead there, just seeing if Motta was going to do the same thing, and it just all went wrong for him, as he's now under pressure from Manzato right behind him. Manzato will get the benefit of DRS, so will Gronkowski here. So the challenge will be on for Motta to defend this down into that final chicane. You can see him there taking the inside line, those following behind him, as he'll move to the outside here to prepare for the final corner. So no move there, but it's definitely closed up for him. Just keeping an eye on Magalon as well. As you mentioned, a 15.7 last time around on the soft tyre. So he is rapidly catching up to Timothy Vaughan in front, in fact within DRS activation now as well. So there'll be a change for position there shortly too. He's not going to waste any time on those soft tyres, as Iniesta Chapelone is into pit lane as well.
Yeah, Yestin Chapelone into the pits, so taking that stop. Now, what will be interesting for Magalon in terms of how he's going to recover through this race is how much time is he going to lose with not only Timothy Vaughan, but that next group in front. That's going to be the difference makers to Fassbender and Kalen Chin in terms of when they decide to dive into the pits. Those are the drivers that I think would be the interesting telling points in terms of how they go about. through the right and the left of that third chicane. This group goes Magalon and Vaughan 7th and 8th places, and Vaughan will realize that Magalon, having made that pit stop, it's going to be a little bit faster. Now, here is the replay into the opening section of track. That is a big cut through the opening corners there for, I believe, that is Lukasz Komski there who ran into trouble. So the Polish driver finding himself in the wrong place. Here comes Magalon. This should be easy on Timothy Vaughan. The New Zealander is not going to fight this one on the brakes. Magalon comfortably gets it done.
Yeah, good idea there from Timothy Vaughan. No need to get involved in that battle on two completely different strategies. And I was going to ask Jay, you reckon Kalen Chin, the strategy for him here is to run this long and jump onto the soft tyre to the conclusion of the race?
I don't think to the end of the race. I don't think that's the option. I think it's a two-stop soft from here to get it sorted. It will be a long time on that soft tyre to get that one home. Red wall tyre, of course, degrades the quickest because it's all rubber down on the track. Now, this is the move by Jordan Gronkowski to get back ahead of Norton Motta, going to the outside here, heading towards turn 1. And look at that, just powering through around the outside. That's what makes Jordan Gronkowski a title threat in this championship.
That is an unbelievable move. You don't see that happen very often. In fact, I don't think I've seen that happen at all. So great move there. And again, good awareness from Motta to allow that move to take place without any damage as well. As we're having a look here out the back of Jordan Gronkowski at Northern Motor to see how much that gap closes. He sort of lost a little bit there as well. So, and Manzato just jogging on the spot at the moment too, not really able to do a lot, even in that DRS zone. As he was going straight ahead there, very, very late turn in. In fact, and he's lost some time there as Manzato. No, he did go into pit lane. He did disappear in the picture there.
And that's the key, because that is an indication. 30 laps on the soft tyre to 40 laps then plus on the hard tyre to get himself home on this 70-lap race. And it is a very important telling point that the pits are not configured to the Formula One style. They're actually configured to the IndyCar style. So what does that mean in terms of how you go forward? Well, it's very simple in terms of what it means, as it's very tight there on the exit with the Komski. Away goes Cesare Manzato. It means that actually the way the pit's configured, you've got more stalls down the end. It's even quicker to get out of the lane.
And that was exactly what we were talking about earlier in terms of the exit from pit lane. Manzato coming out there right in the midst of this battle, having to avoid the driver exiting pit lane was Lukasz Komski, and not able to run over that control line there, and that can really impact your way on the way out if you're not aware of it. So Komski should be able to get a move done on Manzato. He's going to struggle on those cold tyres. So we'll see how quickly he does that, or whether or not Manzato can actually defend it. Anthony Catt now up into P8, of course, already taking his stop to jump
Manzato's wide.
Tyres.
Gets away with it there. That wall really does jut out and approach, and that brings then Lukasz Komski back into play. Cold tyres certainly hurting. Magalon, fastest lap, 15.5. There goes back through a Komski, who retakes then the 9th position in this race, and 2 SimSpeed Championship points with that at this moment in time. Magalon is on the back of Norton Motta. I want to keep an eye on Magalon here right now, because he is in the most critical phase of his race. He's got to get by these 2 drivers pretty quick, and he's got fantastic DRS chances. And look at that, they shut either side, thinking about where you want to go. Magalon is being bottled up, and it's contact, and round goes Motta. He saves himself, but is there damage to the front wing of Magalon now?
That was unbelievable. You could see there, Motta just did not want to let Magalon pass. Magalon on that soft compound tyre. Not necessarily the right play, I don't think, for Motta to do that. And if he's got damage as a consequence of it, he'll be kicking himself. Didn't really need to get involved in that battle on totally different strategies. So Magalon there being held up. As we have a look at the replay here into the braking zone, he got it down. He's just pushing real deep to try and make sure that he protected that line. And then there was the clip there you could see with Magalon just touching the back left-hand corner of Northern Motta, who's jumped into pit lane.
And Norton Motta, no surprises there. We'll see how long the pit stop is. That will be an indication of whether there's damage on his car. The Brazilian in trouble with Magalon, who was on fresher tyres, trying to get by. There is Cesare Manzato, who's back through on Lucas Okomski, taking that place, taking that position. It looks like it is a long stop here for Norton Motta, who's been down on the lane for a very long time and still in the box, I wonder if he's got required repairs. That might be trouble and day done then for him, and he does have the black and orange mechanical flag here, Stuart. His day is over, and that's a shame.
Yeah, he's out. Unfortunately, he jumped out of the car as soon as he got it pulled up into pit lane. So there you go, a decision that he might look back on not all that fondly, but his day is done.
His day done and dusted. Now this means it's 8th, 9th, and 10th. With Florian Kammeyer there on the back of this group in that 10th position. Drivers, of course, still yet to make, or some of them yet to make their first stops, and wide in the background there of Komski, I believe, goes Florian Kammeyer, so he'll have to slow it down. You can see there, the last time these drivers have made a pit stop out there in this race, and I think that's a really telling fact that still we've got about half the field yet to make that first stop.
Yeah, expecting around 50 laps out of the medium from what we have been told. So got a little while to go yet if they want to run that and see how they go as we have a look here at Nick Burke. Just sitting there in P12, Adam Webb in front of him, but battling away. And I was just going to touch on as well, Manzato's checked out a little bit on Komski now as well. So he's using that new tyre to effect and is in pursuit of Anthony Catt, albeit Catt a fair way up the track at the moment.
Yeah, Anthony Catt now about 15 seconds down the road at this point has done well to jump up forward, is effectively net second at this point of those who have yet to make a stop. But we know that Anthony Catt has got to make one more stop in this race because he is on that soft tyre, so he will have some work to do. The lead has just balanced out a little bit here in this race. It's now 2.9 seconds here between Fassbender and Chin, and all of that work that was done by Kalen Chin in this race to close down that gap to Marcel Fassbender. I wonder if he's used more tyre here, Stuart, to make that happen.
He definitely has, but he's just been chipping away at it. I've been keeping an eye on the lap times over the last sort of 5 or 10 laps. And it's 2/10 here, 3/10, 2/10. So it's just up and down a little bit, but Kalen Chin is ever so slightly just continuing to chip away as that gap now has dipped down.
Whoa, there we go. Big hit into the wall. Out of the race will go Lucas Okomski. Oh, sorry, Jason Green, sorry. And Green out of that one with a dramatic accident.
It'll be our third retirement for the day. We'll get a replay of what happened there up on screen for you shortly. Just having a look here at the battle just up ahead with Adam Webb still, with Kimion Komski up in front of him. Oh, it just got real loose there as well. Did Florian Kimion on the exit of the corner. Managed to keep it under control. Have a look at this replay here of what happens to Jason Green. Oh, just on the throttle too early. Turn that one around, and that is day over for the number 7 of Jason Green.
It's a heavy, heavy hit. And because of the iRacing system, this is an iRacing official server. No cautions here. So, of course, we stay green with our racing action. There's a little search to the inside. And thank you very much. On Florian Kammeyer goes Adam Webb. So he jumps up. He takes a position, an important position at that too. Magalon finds himself now with Jordan Gronkowski. We'll take another look at this. Oh, he never had it through the corner. Just the back stepping out immediately. He never had any turn in the wheel to really compensate for that. It was around before he even had a chance to react.
Just a mistake there as well from Julian Magalon in the background. Just coming down through 2 or 3. Grabbed the grass and had to go straight ahead as well. We'll grab a replay of that when we can. But he made a small mistake there as well. Just when he was on the back of Jordan Gronkowski. So you can see here, Gronkowski there just closes the door. He's grabbed a little bit of grass, forced him straight. He got really lucky there actually not to end up in the wall on the other side of 3 and 4. So very lucky for that. And he's into pit lane.
That's Marcel Fassbender, your race leader, diving into the lane. He is the first one to blink at exactly the halfway stage, lap 35. So 35 on the soft, on the medium, sorry. Is this going to be 35 laps on the soft? Now, it will be a little bit easier for him as he goes through and tries to get this going. He will turn to that soft tyre. Magalon, of course, has had those mistakes, and that's why he's nowhere near Marcel Fassbender. Without those mistakes in his race, he would have had a really good chance. Timothy Vaughan also into the pits. The number 13 will make his one and potentially only stop of this race.
You just saw there in the background pit lane as well, Jason Green's car missing that left-hand front wheel and the nose. That's the damage from that impact that we saw just before. So what will be interesting here as well, how much time will Kalen Chin lose or be able to maintain ahead in terms of while the tyre heats up on Julien Magalon's car, can he maintain this gap, push this medium compound tyre a little bit further, potentially have more laps on the soft.
Two drivers fighting, Lux and Reagan, in the pits as they get their boxes. They both leave at exactly the same time as well. Some fantastic work then between them. They know exactly what they were there to do, make their stops. Now, it is an aggressive turn off of the exit. You've got to make sure you practice pit exit here. Onto the power. You're out there in the marbles. It's very difficult. And then away you go. That is big. Kalen Chin has stayed out longer. Now, this becomes a game of trade-offs. At this point, Chin is out longer, so he'll lose time the longer he stays out on that set of the medium compound tyres, but it will just mean that his advantage on the soft will only grow when he dives into the pits. There is that little bit of a trade that's there. It looks like Komsky finding himself in troubles out there on circuit at a very similar place to the other green car of Jason Green.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going straight ahead there, braking himself a little bit. Of course, Magalon, he's going to come along and hit Jordan Gronkowski as the next part of traffic. And Jay, our producer, just read my mind there, jumped on board with him straight away. So as well, this will hold Magalon up a little bit if Gronkowski wants to get a little bit elbows out, and that will help Kalen Chin maintain that lap pace. So last lap around, Magalon did a 16.5 on the soft. Kalen Chin did a 16.6, so no great loss there at all for Kalen Chin while he protects the advantage he'll have later in the race on newer soft tyres. So very, very interesting set of circumstances coming up for us in the next 10 or 15 laps.
The advantage is key, and every single second matters. There is Jordan Gronkowski, who will now find himself realizing that Julien Magalon is through and has gained that position. Gronkowski is still a driver who needs to think about when he wants to come down in, really wants that advantage on the soft to use it at the lowest level of fuel to get the most benefit out of it. Chin, Reed, Gronkowski, Kamaya and Burke, the only five yet to make a stop. And you can argue Anthony Catt also will need to come in, will be in a race with Jordan Gronkowski. There is Kalen Chin, and he is being held up right now by the lap traffic. That is Lukasz Okomski in front. He's been behind for at least half the lap and is looking at maybe half a lap more. But Okomski has every right to stay ahead by the iRacing system if, and this is a crucial if he thinks he's got the tyres, but he's just gone on the radio to say, no, get by me.
And Kalen Chin getting the advantage there of the DRS as well. So good driving there from Okomski just to let him through. The other worrying thing for Kalen Chin to keep an eye on as well is Marcel Fassbender, who just did a 15.8. No traffic holding him up whatsoever now on that soft tyre. So he's able to get a run on and try and improve his position in this crossover that we're going to get with the pit lane strategy of Kalen Chin. So Magalon and Chin pretty much lap for lap at the moment, but Fassbender fastest on track, and as I say, that does a 15.2 as Jordan Gronkowski jumps into pit lane.
Yeah, Gronkowski finally decides then to pull off then from the front as Marcel Fassbender sets the fastest lap then of this race. He is trying to be the first driver this season to get 2 race victories overall, to be the first multiple time winner in the iRacing Grand Prix Tour this season. There has been so much that's gone through. Kalen Chin hasn't had a victory this season. He's looking for his first. So too Jacob Reed. So too Julien Magalon. Timothy Vaughan right now in a race for 7th position. We'll realise that he's in a bit of a battle right now. Cesare Manzato just in front. Adam Webb just behind. And there is Gronkowski. Long stop, 9.7 seconds. That would have been a front wing change.
Yeah, absolutely. You would have got a little bit of damage from that battle earlier on that we saw. So he's got that front wing change and he's on his way. Having a look here at Adam Webb who's putting pressure on Timothy Vaughan, so he'll get the advantage of DRS as they head down Casino in a moment or two. But he's definitely putting pressure on Tim Webb. Tim Webb has stopped, so both these drivers have stopped on the soft tyre, so this is a battle for position and unaffected by any pit stops coming. Just in the lap time stakes as well. Magalon and Chin, again, 2/10 the difference, but Marcel Fassbender now the concern for Kalen Chin. He's rapidly losing time, over a second on the last lap to Marcel Fassbender.
Well, you've got to just look at the group that he's had to get through, which is currently spearheaded by Connor Pooler as Manzato on the mediums, the drivers behind on the softs, look to try and gear up for overtakes. Pooler's got a Komsky, O'Regan, and Lux behind Tobias Sal there as well. This is a 5-car train that Kalen Chin has had to get through over the course of this run. That's really hampered him in terms of what he's wanted. We talk about lap traffic being a check and a balance right now. The check and balance is in the hand of Marcel Fassbender, who's struggling with Kent Nielsen at this point. Here comes a Komsky.
What's that? Some
leader in.
Jumps into pit lane. So the guessing game is over, and Connor Pooler goes with him as well. So jump onto the soft tyre now. 30 laps, really at the top end of that tyre's life. So there's one thing for sure, if he gets there, it'll be fresher than Marcel Fassbender and Julian Magalon. Fassbender will have to stop again, you would feel.
There he goes. Look at that. Marcel Fassbender is already through turn 1. And Kalen Chin is only just leaving the pits now. And that is a big, big margin. Try and chase back. That's the entire run between turn 2 and turn 3. The difference. But that is 4 laps fresher tyres for Kalen Chin to chase down. Or he finds the barriers and he's out to the race immediately. Incredible stuff. Straight out there. Cold tyres. Kalen Chin is out.
Unbelievable that can happen out of the pit lane. We spoke about the cold tyres and the difficulty of getting the car around on that first lap or first 2 laps until you get heat into the tyres. And Kalen Chin, driver of the day to this point, has ended his race out of pit lane. Just grabbed too much curb there and it just upsets the front of the car. And he had nothing other than to give the whole car to the wall on its way through there. That's devastating for Kalen Chin. What a drive up to that point.
Marcel Fassbender leads this race then. It's Julian Magalon in second, and Jacob Reed is currently in third place. Anthony Catt in fourth. We expect we'll have to pit one more time. But it's very much the same scenario for Marcel Fassbender as it was at Long Beach. A case of keep it out of trouble around this circuit and you will be rewarded.
Unbelievable that can happen to Kalen Chin there. But yeah, it plays very well into the hands of Fassbender and Magalon. Magalon has not won a race yet this season as well, so he will be looking to try and get the job done here if he can. But Marcel Fassbender now 10 seconds to the good, out in the lead, slightly more wear on his tyres than Magalon, so the end of the race will get very interesting for Marcel Fassbender if he tries to push the distance. We have seen a tyre failure this season as well, so he'll have to be careful of that. A couple of races, or the last time out, I think we saw that at in Spain. So he'll have to be aware, but we've got plenty to come. There's no question about it at all. Jacob Reed as well, starting to have Anthony Catt close him down for P3. It's been, a gap's been closing as well, so
this is a lot of work from Cesare Manzato at this point, and he is knowing that Timothy Vaughan is clear of him, but he is going to have to be so consistent on the alternative strategy, starting today on the soft tyre and trying to finish the race on the medium. We'll be looking behind. Speaking of looking behind, it is very much a busy station at this point. When you look at this group heading through, this is Florian Kammeyer right now, who is now down into 13th position, started the lap in 10th. And the reason why is because he's just come in and made his pit stop. So he's out and away again. He's got the freshest tyres of anyone in this group. He's got past Nick Burke. He's got in front of him Lux, O'Regan, and Akomsky. That's his big challenge. Get past those three over this stint.
Absolutely there, Kalen Chin as well. Just confirming in the chat that he was caught out by the cold tyres on the way out of pit lane. So unfortunate for him.
Oh, look at the move. Nick Burke and Florian Kammeyer. Nick Burke not giving this one up and has done everything fantastically. That is as good as it gets. Thank you very much. and it is pretty much perfect there in terms of that move.
Absolutely, and there's a fair bit of rubber build-up on the outside of the track there too, so it can be a little bit difficult to get the drive off the corner, making that even better for him there. Did a great job to get that done. To head down into 1 and 2. Keeping an eye, Lux, Reagan, and Unkomsky ahead as well, battling. So there's this group of 6 cars, positions 10 through 15, just really battling hard. All on fresh tyres, all on the soft tyres, having done the stops. We've had everyone go through pit lane now, so we're fully adjusted for pit stops at this point in time. And this battle staying hot.
Battle stays hot then. This is 10th all the way back to 15th, and they are split out there in this race by just a little bit out there, about 3 seconds between them at this point. And it's very much a taxi rank when you get down to that hairpin. Everybody's just waiting. No, I want to go through. I want to go through. Marcel Fassbender wants to go through. He certainly will do. He's got a gap of 11 seconds here at the front of this field, and it's only increasing as this race will go on, because Magalon will be on older soft tyres compared to everybody else. That is dead last in the field right now that they'll be looking at. And Marcel Fassbender is thinking, right, that's the first driver I've got to get by. That driver there, Tobias Saal, who is in 15th position at this point.
Manzardo under pressure from Webb as well. On the slightly newer tyres is Cesar Manzardo, but he is on the medium tyre. So he will should be able to run the race out, you would think, with his pit stop window, with Adam Webb on the soft tyre, potentially having to stop again, given his early stop, lap 25. So he'll have to definitely stop again. So Manzardo here has done really well, just quietly achieving throughout this race so far. And he's in a good position to potentially push a couple of places higher towards the end of this race. So keep an eye on Manzardo, but he's done quite well.
It'll be tough for him, though, because he is on the wrong tyre compared to everyone else. He's just going to have to hope that everyone else's tyre just burns out over the course of this race. Adam Webb is right there and is searching for place and searching for a way to get through. But it's Timothy Vaughan, really, who's keeping Manzardo in that 6th position because of how the DRS works. And that's what we call a DRS train here, Stuart.
Yeah, absolutely called it. He's getting the benefit there of being able to just keep that gap to make sure that he gets access to the DRS at the same time as Adam Webb behind him. So down into the hairpin again. Exit so important for the run down the Casino Straight. The chicane here introduced in 1994, actually, as a result of the incidents at Imola, just to slow that straight down and comply with FIA regulations. But it's been such a great introduction to the track. Seen over the years at Claim many a fantastic driver, including many world champions as well, fallen victim to that wall. But it's a great piece of motorsport tarmac.
It is. And I'll tell you what, it was about 4 drivers in 1999 who found themselves in that wall, including legends like Michael Schumacher. Damon Hill was in it, Jacques Villeneuve, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, of course, no titles, but he also found himself in that wall at one point during that race too. There we have a look a little bit further on forward. This is Jacob Reed, who has just set over that last lap, the fastest lap of the race, the extra SimSpeed bonus point in play for him. But this is now where it gets important for Jacob Reed's race. His chase is to Magalon. It's 3.4 seconds that he's got to bring back with the number 4 car compared to the number 3. And he's going to have to drive the wheels off of it here in the final 24 laps of this race. And look at that again, this time of 15.3. He took a full second out of him that last time by.
Yeah, unbelievably quick in comparison. First driver to drop under the 1 minute 15 as well, but even the last lap around at a 15.3, still a second quicker than Magalon as well. So that's the that extra wear on those tyres that he's got against the newer tyres of Jacob Reed. Some 17 laps to the better, really showing their colours.
I think they are. I think it's really, really showing that those tyres from Julien Magalon, he would like to be off of them as soon as possible. As I say that, Jacob Reed has just clipped the wall out of the third chicane. So he is now really pushing, I think, a bit too hard now at this point. Manzata is still there with Vaughan and Webb. And I think this is quite a scenario here for Manzata. He's up 4 places in this race. He has really shown what he's capable of doing and what he is there to do and what he's going to try and do when he races these events. But look at the groups and names that he's there with. And actually the names he's ahead. He's ahead of people like Jordan Gronkowski. And that really does show what Cesare Manzata has been doing here today.
Yeah, absolutely it does. It's quite achiever, just sneaking his way up into a solid position. Good outcomes. We have a look there. Damage that front wing for Jacob Reed. Pick up there. Is that going to cause him too much strife? How's that going to impact his lap times? We'll keep an eye on it.
We will.
The other one here, of course, Anthony Catt with that very alternate strategy that he took, jumping into pit lane very early on lap 6 for his stop. So he has another stop to make as yet. And so championship standing-wise, that will work out better, obviously, for Fassbender at the front. 41 laps on that soft tyre. There can't be much left of those at all.
No, I don't think there's much left, but you certainly sense the way that Anthony Catt's gone about this race. He's doing something to his tyres that nobody else is managing to be able to do. He's whispering at them, come on, you've got more tyre life. This is some incredible stuff. And consider he pitted lap 6. He's gone 42, soon to be 43 laps on a set of soft compound tyres. He has been asking the will of the world to work for him right now with the way that he's been driving. And you know what? He's going for another one.
That's unbelievable. Just looking at the relative lap times as well. He's not that far out. I mean, he did a 16.9 previous lap to the one he's just completed, which is a 16.7. He's not that far out of touch with those around him on much, much fresher soft tyres. So it's not costing him at the moment. Of course, Fassbender may not have to stop if he can work some cat magic on his soft compound tyres. So it could still be a podium for Anthony Catt.
It very easily can. Do not count that out. He still very much can benefit off of what everybody else has been doing. The gap is 11.1 seconds between himself and Jacob Reed. And let's not forget that Jacob Reed is still trying to push as hard as he can to close down Julien Magalon. And even with the damage to the front wing, has closed down 0.3 of a second on Magalon on that last lap, who clearly just can't hold the speed in the tyres. The lead gap out now to 14.6 seconds at the front of this field, being led by Marcel Fassbender. There is Magalon. There is Jacob Reed just behind. And that gap now down to 2.3 seconds, if that.
Yeah, Magalon's going to have to jump into a session with Catt, I think, and get some tips on how to make that soft tyre last. As Catt goes around again to just further extend the amount of time you spent on that soft tyre. He's said we have had a tyre failure. He's at risk, you'd think, potentially in that zone, as Adam Webb jumps into pit lane to serve his final pit stop of the race. Jump back onto a set of softs, you would assume. He'd be not doing himself any favours if he did anything otherwise. But Magalon,
off the jack, he'll go as we focus on Magalon in second position, still trying to hold on. There goes Adam Webb. Now, where is he going to slot back out? The answer is just ahead of Yestin Chiapolon. So he actually hasn't lost anything by making that pit stop. He's lost a position to Jordan Gronkowski. That's about it. But he's now got fresh tyres to go out there and attack the final phase of this race. And you know, around this sort of circuit, if you're told, go set qualifying laps, this is the sort of track where you can take seconds just because you've got those long parabolic corners where you have to wait an age to turn them just to put your foot down, the right foot flat to the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. The speed here, the high speed of this track, it's deceptive, this track. I think people think that it's not a high speed track, but it really is. It's a speed track now. Once was a downforce track, but not anymore. Definitely need to be able to get the exits right to generate that lap pace. start off the curbs as well. It's a great technical circuit. It's one of my favourite tracks in the world. Is this one? So these drivers are doing really well here to have what has been a relatively clean race. I mean, obviously with the closed nature of this circuit, as we're on board with Jacob Reed, can mean that we do end up with a lot of impacts, but not too many cars taking front wings either in their stops. We've seen one or two, but definitely not as many as you might have anticipated in what could be described as a concrete canyon. But the driver's doing very well.
I think it's a fantastic circuit, though, and I think that even though it hasn't really seen too much change, it's been there. Now, issues for Nick Burke on the power off of the exit here. That's Florian Kammeyer, who's trying to find a way through. Now, let's see how this one all goes. Rushing up then on this straight. Is this going to be a look over to the right-hand side and the comfortable pass through by Kammeyer to make the move on Burke? On the brakes they go, and just about the move made. So, Florian Kammeyer gets one fantastically, but this is where Nick Burke might have actually had a chance to get this one back here, heading towards turn one, having to go around the outside to see the red light flashing as he was harvesting the energy recovery in this car. And let's talk about our energy recovery for a moment here, Stuart, because that is where all the power is generated. These are hybrid cars, and they gain all of their energy back under braking.
Yeah, absolutely. We touched on it earlier in the broadcast, the 4 lights on the dashboard. Sorry, it's showing DRS. I meant to talk about, in fact, the light on the back of the car shows when that energy recovery system is active. And it's a saving game too towards the end of the race. If you spend it, you've got to be able to recover it somehow. Otherwise, you are susceptible to that extra power generated by the car behind you using their system to be able to get through. Oh, so I think just in the background there, Reed may have touched that wall again at Wall of Champions. But it's a very important part of driving strategy as well, is managing that energy recovery system to ensure you've got the power there when you need to use it.
And use it he shall at this point. There's your leader, Marcel Fassbender, 15 seconds to the good at the front of this field. Akomski lets him go. And I tell you what, Marcel's been driving absolutely sensationally here at the front, and it hasn't been in too much trouble or too much there. This is what's happened, though, to Adam Webb. Oh, that was just in front of him there. That's why we saw the smoke going through turn 8 there. He has a massive, massive Code Brown moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Did well to actually save that there. And we're talking about the concrete canyon. That wall was coming at him at a heck of a rate of knots, but managed to keep it off the wall there. And just keeping an eye on the battle, Jacob Reed almost within DRS zone as well of Julien Magalon, so that's going to get very interesting very quickly. As we're on board now with Adam Webb. For that slide, he did so well there, that wall just inviting him to make contact, but managed to keep it off that.
He prayed and prayed and prayed and got there. Now keep an eye at the front of this field, because that battle for P2 is now hovering tantalizingly at 1 second. 1.033. The gap at the moment, 1.1/3 of a tenth of a second is the difference maker right now. Both of these drivers pushing to their absolute limits here on lap 54. And I tell you what, there's DRS. You can sense it on the dash. Green light. That's your ticket here. Jacob Reed, go, go, go.
So this will close it up now. He'll be setting him up towards the chicane, towards the hairpin, my apologies. So this is really just that DRS that he needed to get this set up to potentially challenge Magalon down into the hairpin. He'll be close enough again to get DRS activated for the casino straight. So the challenge on here for Magalon. How's he going to manage this? What's he going to do? Are we going to see him duck into pit lane because he's losing too much time? He weaves to try and take advantage, or whatever advantage he can make. That DRS is active there. You can see the rear wing opens and the gap is closing rapidly. It's Julien Magalon, and he stays out. So Reed now is going to be able to set something up for this next lap. You feel Magalon, it's a waiting game for when he's going to lose P2.
It's too late for him to pit now. You'd feel he wouldn't be able to gather up that time quick enough. But now here is Jacob Reed, who has got the entire time that he wants to try and figure out this move, to try and figure out, okay, when is the right time I can go and get it? He struggles in the dirty air through 3 and 4. That opens up the gap a little bit more for Magalon, and that's going to be his saving grace here. How important is the dirty air, especially through here? Look at how much time Jacob Reed loses. He loses a good half a second through that sector alone.
Yeah, just that downforce we spoke about earlier on, just lifting that front of that car, no grip whatsoever when he needed it most. He's still within DRS here, so he'll get it activated. Down Casino, so on board with him now. That's exit so important. Oh, and he just can't get the traction down. That's going to cost him as well. So albeit he's going to get the benefit of the DRS, he's not going to get the full benefit that he would have if he was able to stay and get the better drive out of the hairpin. Comes down towards Wall of Champions here. Just so good using all the track width there.
Yeah. And 313, I should say, on the straight. He's definitely got the pace. The issue he's got is he's got to try and stay in range. And he's got to try and find that move. And Magalon will use that being in front to his advantage. Yes, these cars were designed, these Mercedes W13s, to bring a lot less of that dirty air, that turbulence around a circuit like this. But it is very difficult. Paul O'Regan, by the way, finds himself in a race. That's Florian Kammeyer, who's just found himself through and has made the pass.
He got the job done to move up into 12th. That's 6 positions gained for Kammeyer throughout this race. And next on his hit list is on Komsky, who's a fair way up the track still. So we've still got that battle for second place on the top screen there for you. So Jacob Reed tries to get it done again out of the hairpin. Both these. This battle for 12th is really on. So they get through Wall of Champions to cross the start-finish line. And the...
Tell you what. Oh, it's going to be close. And that nearly was Jacob Reed through, but he might get a great drive. Remember, it's a double DRS zone on that front stretch. And Magalon over to that inside, turns to the outside, now back to the inside at turn 2. Thank you very much. Jacob Reed gets the job done.
Great driving there from Reed to make sure he got into the position in that second part of the DRS zone. Got the switchback done, managed to close that move out. So feel he's been probably being held up a little bit. Fassbender's checked out a little bit further at the front, so Reed now will be looking to make the most of it and gain a gap over Julian Magalon in 3rd place.
This has been a really important overtake for Jacob Reed, but he's not out of the woods just yet because Julian Magalon is certainly shadowing him every single stage. That gap still within a range where Magalon could fight back, could attack, could do something here to really rock the apple cart to make that overtake so important. It's all about that drive there off the exit, but Jacob Reed's got it in spate, and there's not much I think that Magalon can do now except what that gap open up as Jacob Reed holds himself with a fine enough margin. 3:14 from Magalon on the straight in the DRS. He's not going to be close enough here to make that run into turn number 2. You'd feel here that small flick right, of course, of turn 1, then the left to 2 and 3. That is going to be no chance at all then of making that move, and he is going to have to be so patient to make that happen. Keep an eye on Anthony Catt, though. I think he's committed for the entirety of this race. I think he's going to try and stay out there 63 laps on a set of soft tyres. And he's going to look behind and go, at the end of this race, I might have Timothy Vaughan trying to take that 4th place away.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Timothy Vaughan is on his way through half a second faster than Anthony Catt last time around. So he is on a much newer set of tyres, but that covers pretty much the entire field than Anthony Catt is. So Catt will have to make sure that he can get through to the end of this one and not undo the good work that he's done in carrying that tyre so long.
No, that is very true. The good work that is done might just be undone with one small mistake. Magalon back there close, 0.4 of a second. If he doesn't get it on this straight, he might have a chance to get it on the next, and that's going to be crucial for what Magalon tries to do. He'll close down that gap more and more. He'll look in the mirrors, try and force a mistake out of Jacob Reed through the Wall of Champions chicane. Isn't going to get it. But now on this front stretch, does he get closer enough still to still try and make that pass, to still try and get that move sorted? Still the answer, though, is no. And he still can't quite do enough to get that pass sorted. He's got to be about a 1/10 of a second closer than that if he wants to try and make that move at the end of the straight. Whoa, what a save.
Just both struggling with the rear tyre a little bit, you'd feel. Not able to get the move done, get the drive out of the corner to get it done. So really, it's who can get the most out of the tyre at this stage. Jacob Reed doing a good job here. He's just stretched a little bit there. That's that loss of grip that we were talking about that he suffered from when he was trying to get the move done on Magalon. Now switching back to Magalon with that downforce just disappearing a little bit. But this will be where he's looking to get it done. That second DRS zone as we bring up a replay here.
Look at this.
Unbelievable
He's
save.
right out there. Oh, he does so well just to make a small correction. A lot of people would make a massive correction at that point in time, and that would be race over. On the brakes again, through the right and left then of that final chicane. And once more, Jacob Reed's got it covered. There's nothing that Julien Magalon can do in this race for second. While that's happening, there's Yestin Chiapello. Walter Lux has closed down the gap and now finds himself thinking about 9th place for those 2 SimSpeed Championship points.
Yeah, absolutely. You also saw there Jacob Reed just with a little wiggle on his way out, getting the power down as well. So it's definitely on between Reed and Magalon, no question. But there's battles right throughout this field as well. Camille under pressure from Onkomsky in the battle for 11th and 12th. And of course, just behind this battle here with Chapelone and Lux as well. So lots to play out over the remaining 11 laps. So we have a look here at this battle for 12th. So Komsky, O'Regan and Burke just battling it out all the way through. Not too far off in the distance as well there, Camille, so that gap hasn't opened up too much. And Chapelone and Lux still battling in their way through.
Oh, look how close this is now. Magalon has got himself a chance. If he wants to make this move, he'll now look to the right-hand side. He'll pull alongside with Jacob Reed, try and block him through the corner. He does that. He takes the second place away from him. And now Jacob Reed will have to once again do the magic to get himself back into position. Keep an eye on that gap for Anthony Cat, though. That's down to 5 seconds.
Yeah, and that's where that double DRS zone really plays in your advantage if you can get it done through Wall of Champions, because you then get that extra little benefit on that last run up into the center chicane.
Yeah, and that chicane so vital. Still holding on is Yestin Chiapello. He pushes wide, though, through that chicane, but can Walter Lux make that happen into turn 10? Lapangle the hairpin. He's got a great chance to do it, but he thinks better of it because he's got a more clear-cut and concise place. He can make that overtake here this straight, but he's got no traction as he puts the power down compared to Yestin Chiapello. Chiapello might have a really good shot here of making this one safe on this run, but look at Lux's overspeed. 318 in the speed trap as he makes the pass.
Great move there for him. Julien Magalon as well has blown that gap out to over a second, so DRS lost for Jacob Reed. Just having a look back to see if I could spot what happened there, and it just looks like Reed's struggling a little bit with the tyre, so not too much to see in terms of mistakes or anything like that, but Magalon will be happy that that DRS is now deactivated.
Yeah, he certainly will. And getting outside of 1 second is huge. Anthony Cat on that last lap lost exactly half a second, and that is huge in terms of this race, because it might mean that Timothy Vaughan has a shot heading on to the final couple of laps of this race compared to car number 3, and Anthony Cat can't afford to lose any more places to Marcel Fassbender. Fassbender will take, as it stands, sole possession of the SimSpeed Championship lead and the iRacing Championship lead if it were to stay like this. And there he is, by the way, a full half a lap ahead of his main challenger in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the SimSpeed Championship, Gronkowski as well below Cat, so he's not going to lose too much, but he won't want to lose too much to Marcel Fassbender either at the top.
Marcel Fassbender's done fantastically. Bang! Oh, upside down! There goes Paul O'Regan. I believe that was upside down on the front stretch. Going off of Lucas Ogomski. Oh my word. That's a huge moment.
Onkomsky there turning his car into a Formula V. And that is race over for him. He'll get a mechanical black flag for that one. Have a look here. We're on board with it live. He just hits Wall of Champions. That curb catches him out. And out he goes. And then bang, coming through at full speed. And just showing you how versatile these cars are. Upside down behind him is Paul O'Regan. So O'Regan probably in a similar situation in terms of mechanical black flag.
Yeah, he's got mechanical damage. So I think O'Regan's race is done out there. Komsky and co, I think actually he is okay. He doesn't actually have the black and orange mechanical flag. He can still race, and that is rear wing on at this point, despite everything that's gone on there. So that's Komsky. He can still go out there, but I'm sure he'll be really hampered by rear grip. You can see how slow he's struggling out of these corners here as Lucas Komsky compared to Paul O'Regan. I think the pair of them will both dive down into the pits, get repairs, and get back out and racing again. O'Regan will continue on out there on circuit, but he will not be able to make it to the end. Komsky does, in fact, pit.
Yeah, I don't think there's much point in continuing without the rear wing on that one.
No, I agree. Now, this is the view that Nick Burke had in the Alpine-inspired colours. Now, he's on the brakes. Now, he's got to try and avoid all of this. He just sees Wall upside down. He had to make a snap decision to go to the inside.
That is unbelievable how lucky you can get meters away, inches away even from a race over. So having a look here again at Jacob Reed on board. Gap down now to tantalisingly close to 1 second. But he's just still outside DRS. He needs that. I mean, he could be just trying to build up for a push here on those last laps, just maybe letting the tyres recover a little bit or cool a little bit. But he is just outside DRS zone here. You'll see he won't get it activated. Oh, he does get it activated. He must have been just inside the zone at the measurement point. So he has got back into DRS here. So he will close the gap rapidly to Julian Magalon in front of him. And does so now down to just over half a second. He'll get the second bite of the cherry here. Down into 1 and 2. So it's back on for the race for P2.
It is, and Jacob Reed's had to work really hard to get that time back. Magalon, of course, on fresher tyres. Now into the pits will go Paul O'Regan. He has to because of the black and orange mechanical flag. He will not be able to make it to the end. This will be a long 6 laps for the Frenchman in French Canada. Of course, Quebec, Canada, the French-speaking part of Canada. Now getting that drive through the left and right. So this second chicane out there on circuit. This is big for Magalon if he wants to try and break away. You can see he takes a very, I would say, angled line along that section of road. He's trying to get rid of Jacob Reed as much as he possibly can, and Jacob Reed is just hanging on like a limpet.
Patton Vaughan gap down to under 3 seconds now as well, so the battle on for P4. Last couple of laps, you'd feel.
Oh, I think it's definitely on. I think it's on everywhere at this point. It's on for 4th. It's on for 2nd at this point. And Jacob Reed has got the run. Which way does he have to go? It'll be the long way around. And I tell you what, has he got enough under braking? Yes, he does. What a move. And he might get the second straight away when he has that second bite of DRS. Brilliantly done by Jacob Reed. Julian Magalon is looking behind. He looks like he's seen a ghost.
Yeah, absolutely. Great move there. Move of the night so far for me. Gets it done round the outside through the chicane. Difficulty there is trying to get the car turned in for the left-hand component of that complex. Gets it done really well and checked out 1 second already out to the good. As we have a look through the DRS measurement zone, the green light, is it on? No, it's not. So no DRS for Magalon. He couldn't get it back in time. So he is outside. He could have to try and close it up into the chicane, into the hairpin, sorry. Gap just dipping above and below that 1 second margin that he needs to get it activated. We'll stick on board here with him, see if he can get it done. He has, there it is there, that green light. So he's got DRS for the Casino Straight.
He's done well to get that back. That was a really good middle sector that's been able to get him back into that 1 second bracket that he needed to. Jacob Reed is looking behind and realizes, hang on a minute, I thought I was clear. He didn't have DRS on that first run through, but now all of a sudden he does. He's back in range. He'll know it on his black box relative that he has, which allows him to watch everything that's going on, and he's not out of this one just yet. A fantastic scrap between two drivers yet to pick up a victory this season, who are tantalizingly on the edge of it, were it not for the driver 15 seconds down the road who leads this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcel Fassbender, we haven't spoken about him that much of late, and that's because he's just checked out. He's doing his own thing at the front of this race, looking to be our first multiple race winner in 9 rounds.
Oh, Magalon's in the wall. He's gone. Magalon is out, and a big, big hit coming through that chicane. He was pushing too hard.
So we'll get a replay up of that on the screen. Picked up there.
It happened at Imola. It's happened here in Montreal. Through the second chicane, left, right. Oh, he's just grabbed a tank slapper and he's ran out of track.
Yeah, we saw him do that a couple of laps earlier and gracefully save it, but this time not quite so lucky. And that means that the battle between Anthony Catt and Timothy Vaughan now becomes the battle for P3, the final spot on the podium. And that does help Anthony Catt a little bit as well if he can maintain this position. Having a look here at it, you just see how close they get, and there it is. It was done beforehand, so just a slight overcorrection there, and not able to pull that one off the wall. And broken right-hand front corner of that car means it's night over.
Those tyres must be screaming for Anthony Catt. 1.7 seconds is the margin, and there are 3 laps to go when he crosses the line. He is throwing everything he can at saving that tyre and potentially getting a podium as a reward for it, and it would be a Herculean effort if that's the case. Timothy Vaughan, though, has been reeling it in at exactly the rate of knots he's needed. 1.5 seconds. The gap over the line. That last time by, he took 0.8 of a second out of Anthony Catt. Catt is in trouble inside the final 3 laps. He's going to need to drive the 3 best laps of his life and hope that those tyres, especially the fronts, don't go pop.
It could play into the hands here as well of Manzardo, who's only a couple of seconds down the track. So if these two battle away, you can just see him there in the back of the picture. Manzardo could be on for a Bradby here and maybe grab a P3 if anything happens in the battle between Catt and Vaughan.
Reference, of course, to Jason Bradbury, the 2002 Winter Olympics at Salt Lake City in the speed skating. Now you got to start thinking about where do you find that time again. Catt is trying to just make sure there's minimal turn in that steering wheel as possible. Vaughan is so close to that 1 second margin. He does not have the DRS on this straight. There'll be 2 laps to go in the race for Marcel Fassbender. The top 2 all but secured as we take a look here at this move between Chiapolone and I believe this will be Florian, the Camire, making the move for 9th place.
Gets it done there. Another good move down through Wall of Champions. My favourite spot, of course, as you would have expected with the DRS there in tonight's race. It's Anthony Catt having a look here, right on board with Timothy Vaughan, who is up 3 spots from his starting position. So he's got DRS activated. And we'll see that dot
he
on the
pushes
screen.
wide.
And
he grabs the black. How has he still got it? That was very nearly Vaughan's race over. He's got DRS, but he probably won't now for the next straight.
No, it looks like there's an issue there for Chiapolone. He's in the wall at Wall of Champions.
Oh, no.
Joins that list.
Not like that. Yestin Chiapolone now finds himself in the Wall of Champions and a lockup goes through. Last lap starts then for this driver, Marcel Fassbender, who has proven tonight that nobody is on his level when he puts his mind to it. He has driven a fantastic race, lost the lead off the start. He runs a little bit wide there, though. That will give him a little bit of a heartbeat. But now he knows more than anything else that he has got himself an almighty chance to say something that no other driver has been able to over the course of this season. As he rounds himself through the Lapangle hairpin, will now head himself on Casino Straight towards that final chicane for what will be the last time in his run. He will be able to say he's a 2-time winner in this series. It's still on for that third place. We'll keep an eye on that as we go to it. But Marcel Fassbender will round himself through the final corner, and he deservedly wins this one by a good distance here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It will be Timothy Vaughan who will be looking at his race. Jacob Reed will get a fantastic second place finish in what was a thoroughly deserved drive. He was the one to keep it on the island, but it's all about here and all about now. How close did you want to go? Timothy Vaughan, Anthony Catt, trying to desperately cling on with every claw he's got to this podium, but this is where the DRS comes into play. Here comes the drive by Vaughan, moves to the outside, and Catt, has he got anything left under brakes? No, he doesn't. Has he overshot it? No, he hasn't. Timothy Vaughan will steal a podium, and he will take the first plane out of Montreal to get himself back home with that one.
Great pass on the last segment there. You saw Manzardo as well close up, so we had a three-way challenge for the last step on the podium. Having a look at a replay here. Think of Chester Chaperon, his race. Oh, there was contact.
Oh, that's a horrible hit.
That wasn't on. And he's ended up in the wall as a consequence of it, race over. It's certainly taking nothing away from Marcel Fassbender. A dominant performance here tonight. Great drive from him. Jacob Reed as well did quite well up 4 spots getting into P2.
Yeah.
Timothy Vaughan then with that last lap race so well called by Jake for P3.
Marcel Fassbender, 1 hour, 29 minutes and 35 seconds will take a 16-second victory over Jacob Reed when all was settled and done and dusted. Timothy Vaughan would end up with that third place, but look at that gap between 4th and 5th. It was just a 10th at the end, with Cesare Manzato doing everything he possibly could to get back into that one. Just couldn't manage to take that one away. Jordan Gronkowski would finish off in 6th, with Adam Webb, the first driver, a lap down in 7th, and he would finish ahead of Walter Lux, Florian Kammeyer, and Nick Burke, who we saw turned around with a lap and a little bit to go, rounding out that top 10. Over the pace to 11th, it would be Connor Pooler, who would find himself ahead of Yestin Chiapolone, who would make it around to finish 1 lap down, with Tobias Sahl and Kent Nielsen also a lap down in today's racing. Julian Magalon's race would finish 4 laps from the end. He would find the barriers in dramatic circumstances in his race with Jacob Reed, with Paul O'Regan doing an aileron roll, not quite a barrel roll, an aileron roll, which put him out of the race in 16th. Lukasz Okomski had himself the dramas. Kalen Chin could have fought for the victory here today, but coming out of the pits, he found the barriers at turn 3 and 4. That was his day done. And we saw what happened to Jason Green and Norton Motta in their races. Out earliest was George van Rensburg, the South African, out of the race with 20 laps completed overall. But it's the first time we can say 2-time race winner Marcel Fassbender, the championship leader, is the first one to say that is the reality. But we head to Spielberg, we head to the Red Bull Ring, and you couldn't ask for anything more than DRS City when you head to this place, Stuart.
Yeah, absolutely. Another exciting round coming our way for round 10. Track that's not too dissimilar to what we've seen here, but a little more open. So I'm looking forward to getting to the Red Bull Ring, of course, on SimSpeed TV on the 30th of June. So a couple of weeks for us, but looking forward to that one. Another fantastic installment of this amazing series.
And you can also catch anything you want with us on SimSpeed TV, if it be Facebook, it be YouTube. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, you do everything that you need to do to get yourself up to date with all of SimSpeed's action that goes through. The iRacing Grand Prix series has been incredible. A massive thanks to the team, Jay Kennedy and Stuart Brown. My name has been Jake Sperry. I want to give a massive thanks as well to the Virtual Racing School who have been on the replays. It is a big win for Marcel Fassbender. He will take sole possession of both championships as he will now look to march forward over to ground which is more familiar than here in Canada. But one thing is for certain, there are no certainties around a circuit where it is all about top speed and it is all about being in the right place at the right time. Bring on the Red Bull Ring, bring on Spielberg.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.